While Rolex may seem like the ultimate status symbol, there are compelling reasons why you might want to think twice before joining the hype. We'll explore why many people choose not to buy a Rolex. We'll look beyond the price and discuss why some prefer different watches instead. Stay tuned to discover eye-opening insights that could change your mind about your next watch purchase. Purchasing vintage Rolexes are tricky because of fakes. I love vintage items for a bunch of reasons. One big reason is that they're usually unique because they're not made anymore. That's why they're called vintage, isn't it? And most of the original ones might have gotten worn out or broken over time. So what's left is kind of like a special, limited edition. Plus, back in the old days, things were made to last, unlike today where stuff seems to break right after the warranty ends. Because of all this, I often choose to buy vintage stuff, even if I could afford the new version. And you know what? I feel the same way about watches. I have a few, and most of them are vintage. I enjoy them. Take the Reverso, for example. It's smaller than most watches you see nowadays, but I think it looks great on my wrist. Plus, it has a cool history. It was originally made for polo players so they could flip it around to protect the glass during games. But it's versatile too. I can wear it casually during the day or with a fancy outfit at night because of its black dial. And the dial design is pretty unique. I've never seen one like it on an old Reverso before. Since most of them are gone now, it's probably even rarer than limited editions out there. I bought it for a bit over $1,000 and I could probably sell it for more, but honestly, I just enjoy wearing it and think it looks cool. Rolex charges not only for quality, but also for brand name status. The cost of a Rolex watch mainly comes from its brand name rather than its actual features. While Rolex watches are sturdy, low maintenance, and can hold their value if you choose the right model, they aren't inherently better than other brands. Many other watch brands offer similar reliability, technology, and comfort for a lower price. If you look at how Rolex prices have increased over time, they've gone up much faster than the rate of inflation. For example, a Submariner without a date that was $3,800 10 years ago now sells for over $10,000, over double the price. Yet, the watch itself hasn't changed much. You're paying more because the Rolex brand is more valuable now, not because the watch has gotten better. And there are many videos on YouTube taking about the real price of Rolex watches, which is not that high compared to the sale price. Rolex watches are aggressively counterfeited. Fake Rolex watches are produced in such large quantities that their quality is surprisingly good, despite being much cheaper than the real ones. Additionally, there are many OEM, original equipment manufacturer, parts available which are identical to the original Rolex parts but not actually made by Rolex. These parts can be used in repairs and servicing of watches. When buying from a vintage dealer, they have a good reputation to uphold, so they're usually careful not to sell fake items. Their business relies on their credibility, so they have a strong incentive to ensure authenticity. However, sometimes vintage watches are acquired from wholesalers without original packaging or paperwork. It's possible that these watches were serviced by unauthorized dealers who used non-authentic Rolex parts that are very similar in appearance. This means that even if you purchase from a reputable seller, there's still a risk of finding non-original parts in the watch. If you ever plan to resell a vintage Rolex, it could be marked as partially fake due to these uncertainties. Ultimately, if you want a guaranteed authentic Rolex, you'll need to buy a new one, which comes with a higher price tag. Watches just aren't a passion of mine. I'm passionate about most things, but watches aren't one of them. For instance, when I drive a fast car, I feel a strong emotional connection to it. It makes me feel alive, but when I see a nice watch, I can appreciate its appearance, but it doesn't stir any strong feelings in me. Don't get me wrong, I genuinely like the look of certain watches. However, when it comes down to spending my hard-earned money on a watch, I'd rather use it for other things, even though I could technically afford to buy one. 2 popular style. The Rolex watches that hold their value the best are usually the sports or professional models. However, my personal style leans more towards formal and dressed-up looks than the average guy. Because of this, I prefer dress watches. Rolex actually has a line of dress watches called Cellini, although it's not as well known as their sports models. The Cellini line starts at over $15,000, which is much pricier than many of their sports models. This is because Cellini watches are often made of gold, which is a more expensive material. However, if you buy vintage Cellini watches, they're less likely to be faked because they're not as popular. Plus, you can find them for a much more affordable price, around $3,000 to $4,000. Personally, I've noticed that some Cellini watches can look a bit dated depending on when they were made. However, they also have some very classic designs in their lineup. If I were ever to buy a Rolex, it would probably be a Cellini watch, something classic and gold that I could wear with a tuxedo or other formal outfits. I like that they're smaller, slimmer, and more elegant compared to the stainless steel sports watches. It just suits my style better. Mass market product. I'm into classic men's style because it lets me show off my own unique personality. Even if I'm wearing similar clothes to someone else, I love adding my own twist to make the look totally my own. That's what I find so exciting about fashion, being able to personalize it and get creative. When I have to choose between a mass-produced item and something handmade, I usually go for the handmade option. There's just something special about owning something that was carefully crafted by skilled hands. Handmade items have a sense of artistry and attention to detail that you just don't find in mass-produced stuff. Luxury is all about being exclusive and one of a kind. A luxury product is luxurious not just because it's high quality, but because it's rare. When something becomes too common, like a Rolex watch that everyone seems to have, it loses its appeal as a luxury item. I take pride in having my own unique style, so I look for accessories that help me stand out. While Rolex watches are famous for their quality and craftsmanship, their design hasn't changed much over the years. With so many Rolexes being made every year, over 800,000, they've become pretty common in the luxury watch world. And with so many fake Rolexes out there, it's hard to feel like owning one is special. For me, there's not much appeal in spending tons of money on a watch that lots of other people have. Even though Rolex watches are seen as the ultimate luxury, I'm not eager to buy one just to fit in or follow trends. I'd rather find a unique, lesser-known brand that suits my personal style better. To sum it up, I wouldn't buy a Rolex for a few reasons. First, it doesn't match my personal style. Secondly, I'm not particularly drawn to its design. And thirdly, it's simply too expensive. And I'd rather spend my money on other things. Why am I sharing all of this? Well, it's important to remember that just because Rolex is popular doesn't mean you have to have one if it doesn't suit your style or if you're not a fan of its look. On the flip side, just because lots of other guys like Rolex doesn't mean you can't appreciate it too. When it comes to big purchases like this, it's crucial to stay true to yourself, especially with all the marketing hype surrounding watches these days. In the end, what are some other reasons you believe why you'll never purchase a Rolex? Share your thoughts down below. And for more videos like this one, feel free to like and subscribe to Luxury Focus. Thanks for watching and see you at the next one.